This is not a drill. My name is Greta Thunberg. We are living in the beginning of a mass extinction. Our climate is breaking down.
People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction.
Intimidating. Intimidating to think that you're facing this problem that's going to become like reality in like less than 20 years if we don't do something.
One of Earth's most valuable resources has been ravaged by fires.
The collection of tens of thousands of blazes engulfing an area 2/3 the size of the continental United States. Fires burning from the equivalent of Detroit to Los Angeles.
It's getting hotter at home and around the world. Protests in Canada, France, Germany, England.
I'm just really scared that when I'm older, the world that I'm living in isn't going to be as nice as it is now.
The outcry on social media has been huge, with the hashtag Pray for the Amazon trending. Oscar winner and environmental activist Leonardo DiCaprio speaking out in a series of posts on Instagram. The lungs of the earth are in flames.
It fills me with a lot of anxiety. You know, it's my future, and obviously everyone else's future here is at this age, and it's just really terrifying to think that I won't have the life that my parents did.
Kind of saddening being exposed to an issue this big so young. I've been placed with a worry that kids in the past have not had to have.
This is your money. It is your taxes and your savings.
Even more crazy, right now when we need nature the most, we're destroying it faster than ever.
Up to 200 species are going extinct every single day.
Much of the Arctic ice is gone. Most of our wild animals have gone. Much of our soil has gone.
So what should we do?
What should you do?
It's simple. We need to protect, restore, and fund. Protect. Tropical forests are being cut down at the rate of 30 football pitches a minute.
Where nature is doing something vital, we must protect it.
Restore. Much of our planet has been damaged.
But nature can regenerate, and we can help ecosystems bounce back.
Fund.
We need to stop funding things that destroy nature and pay for things that help it.
It is that simple. Protect, restore, fund.
So Obama's talking about all of this with the global warming and that, and a lot of it's a hoax. It's a hoax. I mean, it's a money-making industry, okay? It's a hoax.
The president has tweeted climate change skepticism at least 115 times, including a claim that the concept of global warming was created by and for the Chinese.
And while our leaders continue to deny the science, I can tell you one thing for certain: the youth is not. Last Friday, young people led the world in strike. Millions of brave individuals did more than simply walk out of their schools and places of employment. They took a stand. We know that the climate youth movement is more important and crucial than at any time in human history. And to turn this around, this movement needs all of our support to become even stronger and be even more impactful. While its leader, Greta Thunberg, couldn't join us here tonight, give her a big round of applause. It's now up to us to get behind other young leaders for this monumental undertaking. These are true global citizens that are powering the movement from the front lines.
Green New Deal! Green New Deal!
Almost all of the morally based reform movements in human history have had young people in the forefront.
I'm in a mindset of protesting because around the world we're seeing strikes happening.
And the climate movement is the premier example now.
I'm standing with youth around the country and around the world to demand climate action on every level of government and to demand a seat at the table when we talk about the future of our planet.
These kids are calling to the nation's conscience, and they're asking us, Think about us. Think about our future. Well, we need to listen to them and we need to respond positively.
Greta, how are you?
Oh, I'm good.
It is very good to see you again.
Very good to see you.
Thank you so much for stopping by to say hello.
Thank you for having me here.
Of course. Well, you're changing the world, so we're very excited to have you. How have you found so far the Friday strikes? How'd they go in New York and how'd they go in Washington?
Very well.
Yeah.
Everyone is so nice, and all of these young people seem so eager, very enthusiastic, which is a very good thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, no one is too small to have an impact and change the world, so just do everything you can and be creative.
You and me were a team, huh?
Yes, we...
Do you know about fist bumping? Do you believe in fist bumping?
Yes.
You can do the boom. Huh? Good luck.
Good luck, you too. It is that simple. Protect, restore, fund.
My guest today is Roger Allen, co-founder of Extinction Rebellion, a movement dedicated to mass resistance and civil disobedience. How far are the climate rebels prepared to go?
Commuters are being warned there could be more chaos across our major cities as Extinction Rebellion protesters prepare for a second day of demonstrations. 30 protesters were arrested in Sydney's CBD on the first day for obstructing traffic and disobeying directions. In the nation's capital, hundreds of protesters brought traffic to a standstill, shutting down the Commonwealth Avenue Bridge. Climate change activists are expected to hold demonstrations over the next 2 weeks.
Why the need now for Extinction Rebellion?
Well, I think the reason's really straightforward, is millions of people around the world have realised that we've come to the point where something drastic has to happen. And nothing is happening, and that means we have to start breaking the law in order to make change happen.
We, the people in this Extinction Rebellion, and the children's school striking for the climate, we are the ones making a difference. It shouldn't be like that, but since no one else is doing anything, we will have to do so. And we will never stop fighting. We will never stop fighting for this planet and for ourselves, our futures, and for the futures of our children and grandchildren. Thank you.
Now, what do all these influential people have in common? They are all pushing the agenda of Laudato Si.
Hi, my name is Greta Thunberg. I'm a climate activist, and I just met with Pope Francis, and he was very kind, and he told us that we should continue like we do now, and he supports the school strike, the big school strike that is happening on May 24th, which also happened to be on the anniversary of Laudato Si. And so I urge you to join the climate strike, and we will take it to the streets, and we will continue to fight for our future until the politicians do something.
Laudato Si. Go on. Walk. Don't forget. God bless you.
And the headline on Vatican News says, Al Gore, Pope Francis is a moral force for solving climate crisis. Al Gore praises Pope Francis's encyclical, Laudato Si. As reported on the Catholic Herald, Obama calls for world leaders to heed Pope Francis's message. On the webpage, it says that the President of the United States has said he wants fellow world leaders to reflect on Pope Francis's encyclical, Laudato Si. He also says, I welcome His Holiness Pope Francis's encyclical. Christians holding baptism and Eucharist on London bridges as part of Extinction Rebellion. Now, why is Extinction Rebellion doing the Eucharist on a bridge? Is to fulfill Laudato Si and fulfill chapter 6, paragraph 236. Now I encourage everyone to read Pope Francis's encyclical Laudato Si. But for now, we're going to read chapter 6, paragraph 236. Now where can you find this encyclical? Go to any search engine and type in Laudato Si, and go to the official Vatican webpage. And here we have the encyclical letter of Laudato Si of the Holy Father Francis on care for our common home. Now scroll down until you hit chapter 6, paragraph 236. And it says, it is in the Eucharist that all that has been created finds its greatest exaltation. The Eucharist is also a source of light and motivation for our concerns for the environment, directing us to be stewards of all creation. It also says on paragraph 237, on Sunday, our participation in the Eucharist has a special importance. Can you see now why Extinction Rebellion took part in the Eucharist on a bridge in London?
During his usual Wednesday general audience, the Pope had an unexpected visit, one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's a great honor to meet you. I want to come here and say thank you very much for protecting this. And we must communicate the importance not only about climate change, but about how many people die every year because of pollution. 7 million. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Today, Pope Francis demanded immediate action to reverse climate change, which he blamed on fossil fuels and big business.
This is our home, he said. If it is ruined, it damages everyone, especially the poor.
In an open letter called an encyclical, the pontiff said that the planet is being mistreated and abused, but he still believes that it can be saved.
This encyclical comes at a critical moment in human history. The ecological crisis is essentially a spiritual problem. the sin against the environment, the ecological sin.
This is big for the Pope. Consume less and buy less. We have to really rethink our lifestyles.
He blames a lot of it on society's throwaway culture.
He tweeted out that the Earth, our home, is beginning to look more and more like an immense pile of filth.
Immense pile of filth.
Pile of filth.
The encyclical Praise Be is the most important papal document ever on the environment, backing the science on climate change, blaming free markets, holding rich nations responsible. Environmentalists and many on the left are cheering the message.
The encyclical is very clear that it does not believe that market mechanisms are going to get us there.
And it's put conservative Catholics like U.S. presidential hopeful Jeb Bush in a tough spot.
I don't get economic policy from my bishops or my cardinals or from my pope.
Since the Argentinian Archbishop became Pope, Francis has shifted the focus away from the Church's conservative stance on things like abortion and made attacks on inequality and the excesses of capitalism central.
He is launching a broadside on many of the things that we take as commonplace.
For some, it's like Occupy Wall Street took over the Vatican.
This is just pure Marxism coming out of the mouth of the Pope.
He has a Marxist background.
By the standards of how South Americans talk about capitalism, he's not radical at all. By the standards of how North Americans talk about it, yeah, he sounds like, Naomi Klein on speed, really.
For Jim Farney, a professor specializing in the intersection of politics and religion, it's not just the message, it's the messenger.
It was a very interesting choice this year. He really, though, stood out to us as someone who has changed the tone and the perception and the focus of one of the world's largest institutions.
Pope Francis has graced magazine covers, attained the glow of celebrity, giving him reach far beyond his flock of 1.2 billion Catholics.
He's a pretty active Twitter user. He's very good with a soundbite. He seems very comfortable around media, and he really seems to have taken it upon himself to use those avenues in a way that previous popes haven't.
The Pope's encyclical blasted previous climate summits for being hijacked by special interests. He'll want world leaders to carry that criticism to the summit in Paris this December.
It would be interesting to know how the conversations he seems to be having with political leaders have gone. What happened in the 10 minutes he had with Mr. Harper last week.
But for a global economy that runs on fossil fuels, the Pope's environmental message is radical.
What he's asking, especially the developed West, to do would be an extraordinary change. Everybody's going to take a large pay cut. Anybody over the middle class is going to see very significant tax increases. The set of public policies he's asking for, it's asking a lot of politicians to go to voters and say, this is what I'm going to do.
If I can have a follow-up question to you. So the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, is often known for its commitment to justice, but also its commitment to many parishes are in affluent areas, many universities. So if you were a Jesuit pastor of a parish in a very affluent part of the United States or Europe, how would you communicate that message, which is difficult to hear, to your parishioners?
I would be very blunt, the same way that Pope Francis is blunt, and not mince words, but I would also invite them. I think that, when Jesus is preaching to people, he's always inviting them to something. And I think Francis, in a beautiful way, is saying, let us all sort of dialogue about these things. So I don't think it's a matter of hitting people over the head with it or making people feel bad, but inviting them to see a new way of looking at things, and also inviting them to experience and think about the lived experience of the poor too. So I would try to invite them into that world, and also remind them that this is an authoritative document, as Pope Francis says very bluntly, and that we really need to grapple with it. Sometimes people say, well, I find out that's a very difficult thing to hear, and I say, well, take it up with Jesus. And in this case, you have to take it up with Pope Francis.
And the young man went away sad. Isn't that the biblical quote?
This is a CBS News special report, Pope Francis' visit to America. I'm Charlie Rose with Gayle King in New York. Pope Francis is about to make a historic speech
at the United States Capitol. He is the first pope ever to address a joint meeting of Congress.
Francis is about to enter the House chamber. It is packed, as you see, with members of Congress, senators, and other dignitaries. Tens of thousands of people are outside the Capitol watching on big TV screens right now. Nora O'Donnell is on Capitol Hill. Nora, good morning.
Good morning, and make no mistake, this is historic not only because this is the first pope ever to address Congress, but think about this. He will be on the tableau there, flanked by two Catholics, the Speaker of the House, John Boehner, as well as the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden. Almost a third of Congress is Catholic. There are 4 justices of the Supreme Court there, including 3 of the 6 Catholics who currently sit on the 9-member court. So you have an incredible show of Catholic force in one of the 3 major branches of government.
Mr. Speaker, the Pope of the Holy See.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you Pope Francis of the Holy See.
Common good also includes the earth, a central theme of the encyclical, which I recently wrote in order to enter into the dialogue with all people about our common home. We need a conversation which includes everyone, since the environmental challenge we are undergoing and its human roots concern and affect us all. In Laudato Si, I call for a courageous and responsible effort to redirect our steps and to avert the most serious effects of the environmental deterioration caused by human activity. Your own responsibility as members of Congress is to enable this country by your legislative activity to grow as a nation. You are the face of its people. They are representatives. You are called to defend and preserve the dignity of your fellow citizens in the tireless and demanding pursuit of the common good. For this is the chief aim of all politics. Demanding pursuit of the common good. We must move forward together as one in a renewed spirit of fraternity and solidarity, cooperating generously for the common good, the greatest common good.
I think the common good approach on national security worked.
We must reject the politics of revenge, resistance, and retribution, and embrace the boundless potential of cooperation, compromise, and the common good.
And a stirring speech by Pope Francis here in Congress, a historic moment where he talked about the pursuit of the common good.
The fact of the matter is, the only reason we're sitting here today in this relatively free society is because of millions of people sacrificing their liberty and ultimately their lives for our common good.
The common good has historical roots that stretch back to ancient philosophy and early Christianity, but it's also an idea that has contemporary relevance. So what exactly is the common good? The common good can be helpfully understood as an ideal and a moral measure. As an ideal, the common good points to a state of affairs, a world in which all the conditions are in place that would allow everyone to reach their full potential as persons and communities. Conditions such as access to good education and healthcare, safe housing, fair wages, and the ability to participate in political and cultural life. In this sense, the common good won't ever be fully realized, but it does provide us with a goal to work toward. The common good is also a moral measure, a tool we can use to evaluate whether our choices, policies, and institutions align with this ideal. For example, do my purchasing decisions reflect merely self-interested concern for my own well-being and status? Or do I try to spend my money in ways that align with environmental sustainability? Do I live simply so that more of my resources can be dedicated to meeting the basic needs of others? There are a few key assumptions built into the concept of the common good. First, it assumes that human beings are fundamentally social creatures. We are built to be in relationships and not live in isolation. Second, because we are made for community, our individual well-being is mutually interdependent. My good includes yours and vice versa. Finally, the idea of the common good rests on a pretty robust optimism about human beings. It doesn't deny that social conflict will happen, but it does assume that since we are built for community, we are willing to treat each other with goodwill and to collaborate in building the common good. Now, the idea of the common good does have some problems. The assumed optimism about human beings can be hard to sustain when there's so much evidence of ill will and such widespread forms of violence and inequality. Moreover, anytime anyone claims to know exactly what is good for all persons, there is a chance that their moral vision can be mistaken or limited by their own experience, prejudice, or self-interest. A vision of the common good can be used to silence those who protest or disagree. In short, attempts to specify the common good can fall short of being truly common or truly good. Because of these dangers, it's important to imagine and interpret the common good in relation to other moral commitments and principles. For example, a commitment to prioritizing the well-being of the most vulnerable members of society, what Catholics call a preferential option for the poor and vulnerable, means listening to what they have to say about how the status quo benefits and harms, includes and excludes them, and what they think a mutually beneficial community might look like. As an ideal state of affairs and a moral measure, the common good needs to be critically examined and revised again and again. The unfinished character of the common good is part of its power, as a tool for moral imagination and decision-making. It continually calls us to see, judge, and act to build a world in which all persons can thrive as individuals and together.
But think about, you know, if you have a child, the difference between 98.6 and 103.6 is a big difference. And if your child has a fever and it doesn't go away and keeps getting higher, you go to the doctor, and the doctor tells you what you should do, and then you do it. The planet has a fever. It's going up. It's not going away.
Good analogy.
Well, and now the crib's on fire.
Yeah.
And some of these...
Good analogy. Good analogy. Good analogy.
And some of these characters are asking if the baby's flame retardant.
Yeah,
I mean, it's ridiculous.
So the country, the earth has a fever, and now the crib is on fire. We get that.
Now, according to Laudato Si, chapter 6, paragraph 237, the Pope is trying to push a day of rest. Now, I want you to know that Pope Francis actually admits that the true biblical day of rest is Saturday, the seventh day. But he is choosing another day, a day of rest centered on the Eucharist, which is Sunday. Let's read it for ourselves. It says here on paragraph 237, on Sunday, our participation in the Eucharist has a special importance. Sunday, like the Jewish Sabbath, is meant to be a day which heals our relationship with God, with ourselves, with others, and with the world. Sunday is the day of the resurrection, the first day. So here, he's admitting that yes, it's the first day of the week. It's not the seventh day, which is the Sabbath of the Lord. And he goes on to say here, the law of the weekly rest forbade work on the seventh day. That is biblical. So that our ox and your donkey may have rest, and the son of your maidservant and the stranger may be refreshed. And this is found in the Bible, and he admits this. It's found in Exodus 23:12. But he goes on to say this. Rest opens our eyes to the larger picture and gives us renewed sensitivity to the rights of others. And so, the day of rest, centered on the Eucharist. And which day of rest is centered on the Eucharist? It says here, on Sunday, our participation in the Eucharist has special importance. So the Pope is choosing another day of rest, not the biblical day of rest. It is necessary to hold Sunday in special high regard in order to remain united to Christ, as it is the day dedicated to the Lord. Without the Lord's day, we cannot live. That meeting with the Lord only occurs on the specific day of Sunday. That life does not flourish without Sunday, and that Sunday is a day of rest, of freedom, of equality for all the world. Protestants accept Sunday rather than Saturday as a day for public worship after the Catholic Church made the change. But the Protestant's mind does not seem to realize that in accepting the Bible, in observing the Sunday, they are accepting the authority of the spokesman for the Church, the Pope. Had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the seventh day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority.
So what path or religion are you in your pursuit of
perfection with God? What are you?
I was raised Seventh-day Adventist.
Okay, and what does that mean?
Seventh-day Adventist is a Christian denomination, and one of the things that we believe is observing the Sabbath. So from a young child, being brought up, I was always brought up with Sabbath observance. So Friday night sundown and Saturday night sundown, as mentioned in the Ten Commandments, remember the seventh day to keep it holy. And then also Jesus observed Sabbath as well.
Yeah.
So it's one day where I don't check my emails, I don't respond to work calls, I don't read
From
any script.
Friday night
sundown to Saturday night sundown.
Yeah.
No work.
You don't check your emails.
No.
That's
there's a function.
That's like against the commandment of Hollywood that thou shalt carry thy BlackBerry at all times.
But for me, Sabbath is a time to recharge. It's a time to rest. It's a time to spend time with my family. It's a time to spiritually reconnect.
Yeah. For your first job, I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's okay.
For your first job, working as an intern with Will Smith, you say to them, look, I have to have the Sabbath off, which may I just confess that I learned in my first meeting with Devon. All these years I thought the Sabbath was Sunday. Yeah. I've been going to church. We say worship on the Sabbath in the Baptist church. And you corrected me. You said, no, Sunday is the first day of the week. Sabbath is Friday sundown to Saturday sundown.
That's right.
I stand corrected.
Perhaps the boldest thing, the most revolutionary change the church ever did, happened in the 1st century. The holy day, the Sabbath, was changed from Saturday to Sunday. The day of the Lord was chosen not from any direction noted in the scriptures, but from the church's sense of its own power. People who think that the scriptures should be the sole authority should logically become Seventh-day Adventist and keep Saturday holy. The Adventists are the only body of Christians with the Bible as their teacher, who could find no warrant in its pages for the change of the day from the 7th to the 1st. Hence, their appellation, Seventh-day Adventists. Their cardinal principle consists in setting apart Saturday for the exclusive worship of God, in conformity with the positive command of God Himself, repeatedly reiterated in the sacred books of the Old and the New Testaments, literally kept by the children of Israel for thousands of years to this day, and endorsed by the teaching and the practice of the Son of God while on earth. Now, how do you get people to accept Sunday rest without biblical support? You unite them through music and emotions.
Retired talk show host Oprah Winfrey told Page Six that the person she'd most like to spend time with is Pope Francis. While making the promotional rounds for her new OWN series, Belief, Winfrey revealed that her most coveted interview would be with the leader of the Catholic Church. She told the publication, "I really wanted to get that interview before he came to the U.S. However, Oprah went on to reveal that she would actually be content with a completely silent interview, saying, "I don't even want to talk to him. I just want to be with him. I've got a Pope crush."
So you had this Sunday gospel brunch, which looked amazing.
Yes, I like having gospel brunches because, first of all, I like brunch and I like gospel. And I wanted to be able to launch this book, Wisdom of Sundays, in a way that was a celebration and that put it out into the world and allowed people to understand the spirit of it, actually.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I wanted to just end the weekend with all of us lifting our voice in praise.
I almost think that this is going to be the best event because the music itself is going to be off the wall crazy.
Because everybody in the beginning was like, oh, yes, hallelujah. What came next surprised everybody. I said to BB, you know what needs to happen. He said, got it. And then it happened.
Dion, can you take us down that wall?
I'm changed. So changed.
And I'm so glad, I'm so glad, so glad, so glad. Oh, him from a special place. He took away all the pain, all the pain, all the pain of the years. And unchained.
Spontaneity was the force. It was spectacular.
Came into my life. Yes, he did. And now I walk it every day.
These legendary singers blew us away, and not one note was planned or rehearsed.
Holy Spirit, come on, walk with me. All you gotta do is come on and talk to me. I'll let you know you'll change.
I couldn't believe I was sitting there watching this go down. I'm looking at President Mike and I'm like, oh man.
They were passing the mic around. I'm like, I hope they don't come near us.
For the change. From this day, we won't walk the same. We gonna walk taller. We gonna think higher. We gonna be better.
It was so funny because all the white folks were like, what is going on here? My Lord, this is really something.
Yes, I have. I changed my life because of you, Lord. I feel so free. I feel so happy.
For the rest of my life, I think that may be the most transcendently spiritual moment I've ever been part of.
You can't imagine sitting there in this spectacular environment and feeling the Spirit of God and celebrating the blessings.
Happy day. Oh, happy day.
I've never experienced anything like this before in my life. So wonderful.
I'm just absolutely floored. And my thing leaving here, I'm going to dream bigger and dream more.
He taught me how. He taught me how. Yes, he did.
It was all clear to me. I said, I'm supposed to continue this amazing, incredible, how could we ever live up to it, example. And we will. We will live up to it.
Happy day. Happy day.
Kanye's Sunday service because he created a church service with music that's turned into these really big weekly events. And we had David Letterman on the show, and I asked him about it, and he raved about it.
And now Kanye has he started a church, or what's going on? Because I see that there's a church now that he's going to
we didn't really have a name for it because it's more of just a healing experience. It was something that
It looks
Kanye,
like fun based on the videos that I've seen.
It is. It's so just like emotional. The music is so, it really is this healing experience for anyone that just is.
You all go to this?
Mm-hmm.
It's really uplifting and you feel excellent. We have so many friends that maybe feel a little too judgmental when they go to church or something like that. When they come here, they feel so free and safe is what everybody says, and you have a great time. It's a beautiful way to start your week, and you feel just love and happy.
It's just a musical experience that is pretty moving.
Do you pray to Kanye or to God at this church?
There's no praying, there's no sermon, there's no word, it's just music, and it's just a feeling.
This is his new album. It's called Jesus is King. Here with the songs Closed on Sunday and Faith from the Oculus, New York City, Kanye West.
Closed on Sunday. You my chick-fila. Closed on Sunday.
First of all, to have church on the beach is simply incredible.
A pop-up church at the oceanfront to start the final day of Pharrell's Something in the Water Festival.
Let us not forget who walked on the water.
And it's a nice setting. It's a change. And it's enjoyable.
It was another busy day at the oceanfront.
I think Pharrell is doing an amazing thing to bring people together in this area.
Thousands of people arrived for the service, which featured performances by local churches and big-name gospel acts like Kirk Franklin and Mary Mary.
We ran into some friends and a lot of family. Well, some friends and family in the background. You know, so it's a nice time to come out, and it was just fun.
And no need for a ticket. The concert was free and open to people of all denominations.
Pharrell Williams is a member of our congregation. He's my nephew, and we're just honored to work with him with the pop-up church.
Bishop Williams is part of Faith World Ministries. He says the pop-up church started with a conversation with Pharrell.
Pharrell understands his mission. He knows that the hand of God is upon his life and that he has a responsibility because of the favor and the influence that he has to bring people together for positive change.
Artists, architects, athletes, academics, when they read about all of those interesting, really talented people who come from here, they always say, man, it must be something in the water. Difference.
I know that saying would inspire music mogul Pharrell Williams to create this. And even a pop-up church service open to the community. As we walked around the festival grounds, it was clear that Pharrell is the ultimate hometown hero.
I'm thanking him for everything he does. They quoted me in the newspaper yesterday. I said, you're the most important person in the city, Virginia Beach.
And for him, this festival is so much more than entertainment.
I feel like there's just been so much like divisiveness in the air.
In the community or in the country?
In our country.
Yeah.
The spirit of division. We have to come together.
Singer, songwriter, record producer, record executive, fashion designer, entrepreneur, A&R representative. Which one comes first for you?
Musician. Music has been the skeleton key to open every door for me. So as a musician, which that word comes from, you know, one who listens or is informed by the muses, which were angels, like we are interpreters. So it's like having that thing, having that gift, and being able to share that gift with people, complete strangers, regardless to what they think politically, regardless to how they feel religiously. It's the one thing. It's like music is a unifier.
Well, now, like most concerts, Kanye was selling merchandise.
Sure.
It was available under a tent called Church Clothes. So that's what you could
Who dropped the ball not calling it church merch?
Well, that's what we'll see in a second, that someone else refers it to church merch. But no, in terms of the tent, it said church clothes.
Church clothes?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Put on your church clothes.
All right.
Okay, yeah. So
how
there's
much
the price.
was it?
So one sweatshirt was $175, another was $225.
Come on.
T-shirt was $70.
$70 for a T-shirt.
Sweatpants were $195.
Uh-huh.
Even the socks were $50.
Right.
$25 each.
Forward. Like you want to go back and use some of these techniques and these ideas in order to
Rome is
dismantle it ultimately.
Yeah, like Rome is the true Silicon Valley of humanity. A lot of the ideas and things that we need are from thousands and thousands of years ago. It's just like, what do we need for our Maslow's hierarchy of need chart?
Katy Perry dressed in her Sunday best to meet Pope Francis hours ago. You guys are having too much fun this morning. She tweeted out this photo of the moment she shook hands with the pontiff, saying she was honored to meet him. The American Idol judge in Rome for the Unite to Cure conference with world leaders to talk about the health benefits of meditation. And she brought her squad, including her mama and beau, Orlando Bloom. Also in the video, hey, hey.
In a work world, what difference will one day make? The Earth won't alter its course. Cats and dogs will be cats and dogs. Rain will still fall from the sky. So take time for Sunday. Just know that your truck has a little thing for Monday.